Want to please stand for a minute? Thank you. As the BG Fold hosts the American flag. Thank you. You may be seated. On behalf of the Otis Civilian Advisory Council, I want to welcome everyone and say how honored we are to have you join us as we conduct our 57th annual Memorial Day program. My name is Doug Tierney, and I am the proud president of the Otis Civilian Advisory Council. Now, in most opening statements, I would say to you, good afternoon. Really? The sun would be shining, illuminating the blue sky. The outside temperatures would be creeping up, and perhaps we could smell the hint of perfume from flowers that were opening up, seemingly to say, wake up in New England, it's spring. And yet here we are. We're gathered inside the attractive newly renovated Roxy Theater. A spring nor'easter with its whistling winds and heavy rain has chased us inside. Yet the longer I thought about this, the deeper my appreciation and respect for those who experience the unpredictable weather, more challenging, and to those who had a job to do, protecting our country. So to you who are active members of the military, to you who have served, when the call for duty happens, it's not about weather. It's your commitment to service. And part of what we're doing today is honoring that commitment. Whether protecting our country, interdicting an aircraft or boat, standing guard in a foreign land, or attempting to rescue or save others. Perhaps you'll agree with me that the training, clothing, equipment, and technological advances we find so familiar today were non-existent for most of those we are about to honor. Thank you for being here with us this afternoon. Your presence at this ceremony, it may stir memories of past years, stories of old friends, even silent prayers of those you have loved and lost. In ceremonies like ours, we reflect upon the many gifts those who came before us fought and died for. Those who were doing their job, yet never returned home safely. Today's program will provide an excellent model for large and small gatherings across our great land. As they pause this weekend, and especially on Monday, Memorial Day, conducting their ceremonies. This program is steeped in tradition. By observing military protocols and pageantry, hearing thoughtful comments and speeches, seeking spiritual strength and guidance, hearing patriotic songs sung, placing wreaths on stands to be later moved to the memorial stones at Otis Memorial Park. The sound of piercing rifles, a bugler playing taps, and the cry of the bagpipes. As proud Americans, let us respectfully and reverently then begin our program. So I ask you to please rise as I call upon Master Sergeant Clint Yeager to sing our national anthem. This will be followed by our chaplain's prayer.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please remain standing while our U.S. Air Force Chaplain Henkel Miranda will give us the invocation.
Please join me in prayer as we bow our heads in reverence. Heavenly Father, we gather today to honor the memory of the brave men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our nation and the freedom we hold dear. We ask for your blessing upon the ceremony, the speakers, the attendees, especially the families of the fallen who bear the deepest burden of loss. May we never forget the courage, the dedication, and the selflessness. Guide us to live lives worthy of their sacrifice, striving for peace and justice in our world. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. You may be seated. Next up, I'm going to call on our past president, Kathy Johnson, and she will recognize our officers present and guests. Kathy.
Good afternoon. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you here this afternoon on this horrible day. But we're so blessed to have this beautiful spot to meet in. When I announce your name, could you please stand so that everyone recognizes you and gets to know you? Thank you. One of our OCAC favorite people, Brigadier General Christopher Foe, Joint Base Commander, Executive Director. Our guest speaker, Colonel Michael C. Kelly, U.S. Air Force Commander, 102nd Support Group. Another favorite person for OCAC, Colonel Nikki Ivers, Nicole Ivers, U.S. National Guard 102nd Intelligence Wing Deputy Commander. Colonel Matthew Porter, U.S. Army, Commander, National Guard, Camp Edwards. Another favorite, I shouldn't have favorites, should I? Captain Bowen Spivak, U.S. Coast Guard, Commander, Base Cape Cod. Another one. Captain Michael Lagowitz, the U.S. Coast Guard, Air Station, Cape Cod. And from the Barnstable County Sheriff's Office, Major Jim Anglin. Amanda Tipton Braga. Where did she go? Oh, yeah. She's here representing Representative David Vieira. Trooper Cadino. He is from the Mass State Police or Police. And did I forget anyone? Please tell me. I tried to catch you all when you came in. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm not really a big GPS person. I'm kind of a print person. So our next up is, you can see that there's a special relationship between Otis Civilian Advisory Council and the military branches here on Joint Base Cape Cod. One of the greatest compliments we have received in the past is this power of this relationship and the strength of it. And it's an act of love, really. And it goes to all of the people in the back who help us, and the leaders in the officers in the front. This has been marvelous. It's been going on. OCAC started in 1947. And one of the nicest things we've heard has been, this is a special place. And we hear that from the military. And that inspires us. And somebody that really inspires us is the next person I want to ask to speak. Brigadier General Chris Foe. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. And I have no intention of keeping everybody here a long time. Those of you who listened to me before, my speech is the 3 B's: be brilliant, be brief, and be gone. I'm through with that, so we can listen to my friend Mike Kelly. I really want to come up here and say thank you. This will be my last ceremony in the executive director's position, and it's been a true honor and pleasure. It's really been great working with OCAC, and of course, my brothers and sisters in the front row. They've really made this time for me special, and it went by very quickly. I would like to do 2 quick shout-outs. One, I'd like to thank the Coast Guard's crews and everything that always made that Otis Memorial absolutely beautiful. I know this year we didn't get to see it, but trust me, they did a lot of work to get it going, and I know some of the folks in the audience were out there as well, so thank you so much for that support. And the other one is OCAC, Otis Civilian Advisory Council. When you're in the military, let's face it, you don't know what kind of support you're going to get when you walk outside that gate. It could be absolutely fantastic, or there could be people there with signs wanting to throw tomatoes at you. It's just the way it is. OCAC has always been there for us, at least since 1947. And I want to thank them for that. It is amazing to have this type of support, and it's so visible, right down to the youngest airman, soldier, Coast Guardsman. It's so visible that they are there honoring the best of our best. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, and I will close by saying farewell. This is my last time as executive director.
Thanks, Chris. So we move on to our guest speaker. I'd like to say a few words about Colonel Michael C. Kelly, U.S. Air Force Commander for the 102nd Mission Support Group. Colonel Kelly leads a group of over 400 military and civilian personnel. Among the services he oversees include providing engineering, contracting, supply, transportation, communications, logistics, and security to the 102nd Intelligence Wing. Colonel Kelly also provides operational support for 31 tenants and 5,000 personnel here on Joint Base Cape Cod. Colonel Kelly has served in a variety of operational and leadership positions across his years of service. He led 3 squadrons in the 102nd ISR Group. Colonel Kelly has supported multiple contingency operations, both at home and while deployed. They include Operations Noble Eagle, Iraqi Freedom, and Inherent Resolve while at home. And while deployed, he led Operations Southern Watch, Iraqi Freedom, and Enduring Freedom. Prior to his assignment to the Otis Air National Guard Base, Colonel Kelly was the commander for the 102nd Intelligence Squadron, leading over 200 military personnel across multiple intelligence disciplines who provide near real-time intelligence to fielded forces, allies, and other United States combatant commander requirements. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm welcome to our guest speaker, Colonel Michael C. Kelly.
Thanks for moving the picture of me here in the program. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, first of all, to the Otis Civilian Advisory Council for putting this together. Can you hear me in the back? Okay. Yeah, thank you. The general folk, and then all the other distinguished guests, especially from the other services here represented, to the guests here, the service members and the civilians, and then finally to Colonel Ivers. Thank you, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity to represent the Win. Very humbled and honored to be able to do that. So I'm sure a lot of people in the audience have heard lots of Memorial Day services, so I'm going to set the bar low. I wouldn't expect any kind of revelation that you probably haven't heard, but I guess what I would hope is, after I get through some of the things you might expect from a Memorial Day service, if I can give, as you're leaving, or maybe sometime this weekend, maybe 30 seconds of thought as to what I want you to take away from this at the end, when I wrap that up. So, for generations, Americans have answered the call to go defend freedom, at home and abroad. Most of those we kind of see in the public persona when it's encapsulated like in a movie, a documentary, textbooks if we still have those, podcasts, or what have you, when you hear about the brave men and women that served either like fields of Gettysburg, the trenches of the Somme, the sands of Saipan, jungles of Vietnam, deserts of the Middle East, or the mountains of Afghanistan. Normally, those instances is when someone's called upon to go fight tyranny, oppression, or to defend the ideals that we hold dear as a nation. And albeit that's important, it's also important to realize that as service members lose their lives, sometimes that's in an instance here closer to home, whether it be training, whether it be in a rescue operation, whether it be in support of any other kind of mission. Sometimes that's not as memorialized as much, and I think that's important is what the Otis Memorial Park brings, because it encapsulates all those things. So both sacrifices are worthy of our attention. So when it comes to Memorial Day, sometime around 1868, the holiday started to appear in the ashes in the aftermath of the Civil War called Decoration Day. Throughout the late 1800s, it morphed from Decoration Day to Memorial Day. It wasn't standardized between states. We didn't really have everything in the same hat. Sometime after World War I, it started to be called Memorial Day a little bit more often. After World War II, it's fairly solidified. But as we entered the 1960s, it still wasn't really nailed down to being a singular event. So Congress, as they fix all of our problems, they decided to intervene, and in 1968, they declared that you will now be called Memorial Day from here on out. And it was set for the 30th of May. So 3 years later, in 1971, I'm guessing the retail lobby got a hold of Congress and said we needed a 3-day weekend. They didn't like the floating day, like we get with Veterans Day. And so then it was aligned to be the last Monday of the month. So for 54 years, we've celebrated as a 3-day weekend. Normally, when we celebrate that weekend, there's ceremonies all across the United States, whether it's laying wreaths, insignias, flowers, flags at memorials, or headstones anywhere across the United States. Probably the most famous being, Arlington National Cemetery. For the airmen in the room, more recently also in Arlington is the Air Force Memorial. Other countries do similar things. Anzac Day for our Australian or New Zealand allies do the same thing, commemorate the atrocities they saw in World War I. But even in our own little slice of real estate here on the upper part of Cape Cod, Otis Memorial Park presents that as well as our National Cemetery. So the Memorial Park is pretty special. If I get my date right, it was kind of finished around 1969. What's special about that is whatever we want to call this slice of real estate, it's got so many different monikers and then services that serve here, whether it's Camp Edwards, Otis Air Force Base, now Otis Air National Guard Base, Air Station Cape Cod Air Station, the MMR, Massachusetts Military Reservation, or Joint Base Cape Cod. All those things encapsulate a family of service members that come together here. And during their time here, we lost, unfortunately, members of all the services. So if you go to Memorial Park, there is quite a few honored there. There's a Marine, there's soldiers, there's 50-plus active duty airmen, most of which lost their lives with EC-121s off the coast of Cape Cod. There's Coast Guardsmen, and there's a couple of Air National Guard members as well. One of the most recent ones was a commemoration for a WASP pilot, female pilot in the 1940s that crashed as she was ferrying an aircraft over the Atlantic over to the European theater of operations. And some of the more recent ones, at least I've lived around here for a while now, the ones that I would hear the most of because they weren't far back as far as me, I'm a little bit older now, but February 1979 when 4 Coast Guardsmen lost their life trying to rescue a fisherman in the frigid Atlantic Ocean when their helicopter crashed. Or 4 years later, in 1983, when Captain LeBoyd, then assigned to the 101st Fighter Interceptor Squadron, lost his life during a training sortie flying his F-106. So all those names should be memorialized. And the thing about memorials and all that, so the pieces of granite or hunks of bronze attached to them, the names represent a whole lot more. And as time goes by, if people that serve with them are around anymore to kind of commemorate that, that's why something like this is so special. Because although there are names, they represent lives. They represent human beings. They represent dreams that went unfilled, capacity that was never met, and a life cut short. And all of them represent families and families and loved ones that had to go on without their presence. So probably more important than their titles or their military ranks is their more endearing titles of mom, dad, son, daughter, aunt, uncle, sister, brother, friend, cousin. Where I'm going to try and pivot this a little bit is so their sacrifice really should not be caged into a weekend or a certain holiday. To really truly embrace what they did for us is to continue that. I'm kind of going through that. While that place, while Otis Memorial Park or any of those institutions are a place where it's solemn and it's one of reflection. The reflection part is where I kind of want to bring the conversation because that's where we carry on their sacrifice beyond the confines of a 24-hour holiday. Reflection for not only the soldiers, sailors, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, airmen, guardians, merchant Marines, civilians that all laid down their life, sacrificing, defending freedom for our ideology or our national interests in either combat or readiness training. Some of those served because maybe they truly did wrap themselves in the ideology of the flag or were sworn to defend the U.S. Constitution like we do officially. Some of them served because they didn't have a choice. They were drafted. A lot of them served willingly. Some of them served for more less ideological things as far as education or a better way of life, but it doesn't matter because they all served, and there's far few of us that actually do in the public. So my hat's off to all of them, no matter what their reason for serving is. I've got a quote right here that I want to read from President Roosevelt. Franklin, not Teddy. Those who have long enjoyed such privileges as we enjoy forget in time that men died to win them. I'll read that one more time. Those who have long enjoyed such privileges as we enjoy forget in time that men died to win them. Now, I'm sure that if anybody's attended Memorial Day or Veterans Day services before, you've probably heard that before. It's not an uncommon quote to hear from President Roosevelt. But what I like about that one, if you actually stop to think about it, actually I'll fast forward. We live in a very fast world right now where sometimes we don't take time to stop and think and reflect, which is what I'm trying to hammer home here. So I think that President Roosevelt's quote has sometimes been watered down into a more modern one, hashtag, bumper sticker, t-shirt version, freedom isn't free, which is true. But when you stretch that out, saying that people gave their lives for that, I think it resonates a little bit more when you stop to think about the longer version of that. So you can consider Memorial Day a day of remembrance, and it is. It is that. But I challenge all of you that are privileged to still be walking the earth and still serving amongst our fellow servicemen to use it as an opportunity to reflect and use it as a call to action. Use it as a prompt to not only honor those memorialized, but lead our own lives with courage, integrity, compassion. And if you're privileged enough to lead servicemen, take that which is granted to you within your span of control and make it better than the way it was given to you. Because ultimately, that's what they expect out of us. That's what our service members expect of us. That's what the American public expects of us. But more importantly, it validates that their sacrifices weren't lost. That we're carrying on and trying to continue to do the hard mission that they did, even though they're not here with us anymore. Serving is not supposed to be easy. Everybody in uniform gets that. It takes a lot of sacrifice. It means sacrificing time away from your families. Sometimes it takes sacrificing your own free will. Sometimes it means sacrificing your opinion. But I thank you because all of you in uniform embody courage, resilience, and resolve. So this coming Monday, if you're fortunate enough to have it as a non-duty day or any time throughout the weekend, amidst barbecues, sporting events, retail sales, what have you, I ask that you have 3 objectives that you try and execute throughout it. Number 1, take at least a moment of silence to think about why we have the weekend. Number 2, if you can give back something to honor that, whether it's laying a wreath or doing something of that nature, please do it. And number 3, the most important one is use it as a way to reaffirm your sense of service so that those that can't be us, be here with us, know that we're carrying it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel Kelly. So I skipped something, and I'm going to ask Master Sergeant Clint Yeager. We're going to hear 2 songs. I should have done it right after you, the Chief, but I got excited. So he will sing America the Beautiful, and then part of Oak Civilian Advisory Council, if you've ever attended a meeting, if you have ever attended our quarterly meeting, we always sing God Bless America. It's been part of it. So we get to hear a wonderful soloist.
Well, I was going to say, if you know the song, please stand and sing with me. America, I'm just going to sing the first verse. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
The prayers and the music and the words of wisdom, thank you, Colonel Kelly, they make this day special. Now, normally, we would, at this junction, we would stand, and if we were at Otis Memorial Park, the military officers would go and lay in wreaths. Well, we're not at the park, and we're dry. So, but you are going to hear some 5 stories about 5 memorial stones that we're highlighting this year. Last year we highlighted 6, this year 5, next year 6. So what's the goal? Exactly what Colonel Kelly said. We need to remember, if we hear the story, while we may not have known the people, the person that were involved or that were part of that stone, we know others who made that sacrifice. So I would like to begin today, and I'm going to have my first memorial stone. It's the Coast Guard Station Salem, initially at Air Station Cape, now at Cape Cod. This is the first stone when you walk up the walkway in Otis Memorial Park. It's on the left-hand side. The U.S. Coast Guard had a presence in Salem, Massachusetts from February 15 in 1935 until 1970, when everything was transferred as part of a Coast Guard station to here to Coast Guard Cape Cod. The Salem base covered north to the Canadian border and south to New York City. The base was located at Winter Island, which juts out into the Salem Harbor. 35 men and 2 seaplanes were housed there. Their mission consisted of search and rescue, hunting derelicts, and medical evacuations. When World War II broke out, Salem was home to 37 aircraft charged with protecting the East Coast seaboard by patrols from enemy submarines. In 1944, Salem became the first air-sea rescue station on the eastern seaboard. A PBM was the primary aircraft, and as I took a look at this, it was one of those that you had to float. I can't imagine how they made rescues in the ocean, because you had to sail, you had to fly in, land kind of flat on the waves, and then you had to go rescue somebody. By the mid-50s, helicopters were also part of the Salem base. On our plaque, 12 names of pilots and crew are listed on the memorial plaque. As we consider the advances in aircraft, electronics, weather forecasting, and training and safety gear, we can't help but admire the courage and the determination of these men. And on the stone, they are all men. Today, we honor the 12 men who died between 1942 and 1961. Number 2. The second stone that I'd like to highlight is the 60th Fighter Interceptor Squadron. There was an accident on March 21, 1968, and on December 5, 1969. When I was doing some research on this, I was intrigued to know that this fighter squadron had the nickname of Fighting Crows. And the insignia, and if you can look it up on the internet, but it had a machine gun, the crow holding a machine gun. 3 names were memorialized on there. The first crash occurred on March 21, 1968, when Otis Air Force Base lost contact with a supersonic jet fighter known as F-101B Voodoo. Captain Randall Taffel and his navigator and radar officer, Captain Paul Utz, were returning from routine flight maneuvers when the sleek aircraft plunged through the heavy fog into cold waters off of Cape Cod Bay, 12 miles off the coast. Now, many members of the squadron believe it was their final run of the day. A Coast Guard vessel, first on the scene, was able to retrieve Captain Randall Taffel's 25-year-old body. 6 days later, professional divers were able to retrieve the jet's fuselage, where they also retrieved Captain Paul Utz's body. So what happened? No one knows for sure. Many believe it was a combination of factors: dense, heavy fog conditions coupled with pilot and crew member exhaustion. And as I read, I kept thinking about flying or sailing on the Atlantic, a huge challenge faced by all of our members that are stationed at Cape Cod, about the sudden change in weather, the quick, dense fog that happens, creating treacherous conditions. Now, my report, really, I want to give full credit goes to the Cape Cod Times reporter Christine Leger, who researched, interviewed, and wrote an article about Paul Utz's signature stein being found by Master Sergeant Robert Segrin, a member of the 102nd Intelligence Wing of the Air National Guard. He found Utz's stein, saw the name, and did some homework. He worked to find out, when Paul Utz died, he had a wife and 3 children. He found the son, located a master sergeant in Texas, shipped the stein to his son, and then he had that as a remembrance of his dad. The boy was 4 years old when his dad died. And that article was published in January 9th, 2019. Today we remember. There is one other person, a Captain Rossamano, and despite my best efforts, I am still seeking knowledge of that crash. Check several sources. If anyone can help, I appreciate it. I say, these are the stories we want to put on Otis Memorial Park so that people can better understand and appreciate the challenges and sacrifices and courage of these men and women. Number 3. World War II ends with 2 countries emerging as competing powers, the United States and the Soviet Union. By the mid-50s and 60s, a Cold War between these 2 nations causes national and international tensions. Concern grows of Soviet bombers or missiles attacking the USA. The Department of Defense developed a 3-pronged approach to protect the USA. Otis Air Base plays a critical role in 2 of these 3 components. Then last year we talked about the stories about the Airborne Early Warning and Control Wing, the Connies, the 3 of them that went down after 10 years of no issues, and all of a sudden they went down I believe in March of '65, November Veterans Day of '66, in April '67. Planes left airplanes, those colonies, they left 24/7, 365 for years. And each time they left, they were approximately on a 14-hour flight to protect us. They were looking again towards the other end of the ocean, to Europe, to provide us early warning. Well, where do the Texas Towers fit in? Well, the Texas Towers are modeled after, they look like oil drilling rigs. And they were part of the plan because they used that framework, flat beds, and they put domed radar on top of them. Most of them had 3. They were usually 63 miles out in the ocean. The Texas Tower 4 was. And they could provide 300 to 500 miles out advance warning to the United States. The estimate at the time was we would get 30 minutes additional warning. Most of the towers were located here in the Northeast. Texas Tower number 4 was built in South Portland, Maine, and put into service in June of 1958. Positioned 63 miles southeast of Long Island, New York, in 185 feet of water. The 4604th Support Squadron from here at Otis Base operated Texas Tower 4. While floating the tower from Maine to its site in New York, 2 to 3 structural supports were dislodged, and they weren't sure, they had to be fixed. It was decided to do the repairs not before the tower was grounded, but after it was put into service. In September of 1960, Hurricane Donna seriously damaged tower number 4. 4 sad months later, on January 15th, 1961, serious damage was reported from an incoming winter storm. With helicopter operations impossible to evacuate, Navy and Coast Guard ships were dispatched to the station, but they could not save those on the tower. The tower collapsed at 18:45 hours into the freezing Atlantic. There were no survivors. 28 people died that day when Texas Tower collapsed. 14 Air Force crew members and 14 civilian contractors. Today, we honor and remember the brave military members and civilians of Texas Tower. Number 4. Captain Alan J. Lavoie. 31-year-old Barnstable native Captain Alan J. Lavoie joined 2 other Air National Guard pilots to conduct a routine training flight. As members of the 101st Fighter Interceptor Squadron, the pilots were expected to hone their flying skills and log in their flight hours. On June 6th, at 11 a.m., the trio took flight in their F-106 jet fighters, leaving Otis Air National Guard Base. While the visibility was reported to be somewhat limited, the skilled pilots headed in a southerly direction toward the Atlantic Ocean, climbing to an altitude of 12,000 feet. As Lavoie's colleagues passed 60 to 90 miles south of Martha's Vineyard on the way back, they noticed Captain Lavoie's aircraft was missing from their formation. Radio contact with Captain Lavoie proved unsuccessful. It was assumed that the missing plane had gone down in the ocean and a large-scale search and rescue effort was immediately put into effect. The 5-day search and rescue operation involved aircraft from Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, as well as military vessels. Nothing was found. Many thought that if Captain Lavoie were able to eject successfully from the airplane, he could make use of the life raft and other emergency supplies attached to the ejection suit. It was also stated upon a successful ejection, a radio would begin transmitting a signal. No signal was ever received. A piece of Captain Lavoie's aircraft was found by a boater on September 3, 1983, floating near the shoreline of Nashan Island. Today, we remember and honor Captain Alan J. Lavoie. Number 5. Father John E. DeVal, DSC, 1879 to 1920. The plaque and stone were presented by the Portuguese American Civic League to those who served. Truth be told, I have little information about Father DeVal. He died at a young age of 41. He could have been a source of spiritual strength for those serving in the Great War, World War I. His impact upon soldiers must have been significant to have others request he be remembered and honored in this way. I've been connected with remembering and honoring those who served for over 2 decades. Father DeVal's memorial is the first I have seen of a priest, clergyman, or chaplain. Somewhere out there, hidden from my view, is a story about this spiritual leader waiting to be discovered. I selected Father DeVal's memorial as the last person highlighted this year for a reason. It is poetic justice that prayers by chaplains, clergy, unit, or family members provide strength. It provides strength and support for many in difficult, dangerous, even deadly situations, as described in today's stories. And so our OCAC tradition has been to begin and end this ceremony in prayer. We begin our meetings with moments of silence, praying for military who may be in harm's way, and for peace in the world. This completes our focus this year on insight into the men and women who are remembered and honored at Otis Memorial Park. I invite all of you to visit the park and access other stories using the newly installed QR codes sitting on top of our white sentinels. Next year, there will be 6 more stories. With that, I would like to ask the American Legion to prepare to honor our heroes. And I ask you to please stand. Detail and put.
like to make some closing remarks.
And I say that it is indeed an honor to have you here, military and civilians, as we recognize those who serve this country. And the great thing about the Otis Memorial Park, what I think makes it so unique, most of those people were not technically KIA. As Bill Belichick might say at a coach's meeting, they were doing their job, and they didn't come home. And I certainly, and I trust many of you, can identify with that. So that's the great gift of the Otis Memorial Park for me. I want to thank you all for attending today's program. Establishing Otis Memorial Park in '69 became the first major project for the Otis Civilian Advisory Council. Our founders understood then, and we do now, how important it is to remember and honor those who died while in the line of duty, protecting our shores and country. I ask you to please read the back of the program, listing the various business and people who have kindly donated to fund today's program. Also, a donor that did not appear on the program but donated was Lillian Hardwood. We greatly accept donations in any amount to help offset the costs for this wonderful program. Do visit Otis Memorial Park. Last August, on August 3rd, white sentinels topped with QR codes were installed. And I would like to recognize some people. We had a team of volunteers that really put in these posts, put on the QR codes, which is the stories you can go up and hear, and which I'm hoping we enrich. First off, I want to acknowledge first volunteers from the 102nd for their assistance in completing the project last August. Would AIC Itera Richards please stand up? And SRA Lincoln Lee D'Amelia, please stand up. They were part of the 102nd, and they approached Sue Bulikowitz and myself in the springtime saying, we need to find a way to help you. They answered the call. And they were coupled with OCAT volunteers David Wedge, Tammy Kukuleka, Kathy Johnson, please stand up, Andrew Watts, and yours truly. And in a period of 3 hours, we put up 22 posts. The dream of that activity rests with retiring Brigadier General Christopher Foe. We walked there. He said, you know what would really make this jump? I thought he meant me, because he knows I don't jump. Was to put up the QR codes. And that mission was accomplished, sir. And it was your inspiration. So we've lots of places to go to help continue that work. And anyone, we love anyone to give us the help. You can sit down. Thank you to the U.S. Army for letting us hold today's ceremony in this. It is a beautiful building. And so now this means the following to everyone. Rain or shine, we have a ceremony. And I ask any members who are present from Otis Civilian Advisory Council and those who prepared Otis Memorial Park. They did a great job. Mother Nature didn't quite appreciate it. So if you are here present, please stand up. Go ahead, stand up. We had over 24 volunteers last Saturday that went out and who worked so well to clean up and dress up the park. And those I like the word dress up, because those that we remember deserve nothing less. Thank you to JOG for granting us relaxed access today, and a special thanks to Vonnie Jacquard, Claire McGowan, Kathy Johnson, and my wife, who made the bows, for all your work in advance. These bows will go on the Sentinels. We decided the wind, the rain just wouldn't do it justice. That was an order I got from my domestic bishop. Thank you to the Bourne local cable TV for recording today's ceremony. They plan to edit it and then to go and edit and provide access and distribute it to Falmouth, Mashpee, and Sandwich, the contiguous local cable TVs. For the people that couldn't be here today, who do have a connection to JVCC, Otis Air Base, Camp Edwards, they will get to see that. So to Bourne Cable TV, thank you so much for that work. To our American Legion Honor Guard from Bourne, Post 230, thank you very much, Mr. Patterson and the team. I want to recognize and thank, one would be our Piper Joe Hayes. Certainly our vocalist, Master Sergeant Clint Yeager. Really quick side story. He sang the national anthem for us last year at the military luncheon over at Seacrest. And before he could sit down, two groups of organizations came to him and said, "Can you sing? Can you sing? Can you try this?" I was third in line, but you enriched the program. And Joe, you enriched the program. And our bugler, Glenn Carlos, I will say thank you as well. And finally, a reminder that there is a reception in Diane Santoro. She helped us with I wrote this PSA. I haven't written one in quite a long time, but I realized they have to go this way. I'm working on it currently. And so Diane helped us advertise. So we're very much appreciative for all those. The Otis Memorial, it is a reception at the Eagle's Nest. You are all welcome. There's plenty of food. Thank you very much. One of the things, let me echo what Colonel Kelly said. If we can model for our children why this day is important, whatever it might be, our grandchildren, they'll get it. But we have to be active and live it. So with that, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. And thank you for your service. See you over at the Eagle's Nest.